This week on the news, we're going to be discussing Elton John, the Police, Def Leppard, the Black Keys, and the passing of Alan White. Hello, everybody. This is TJR.
And this is Robert Kinsler.
And welcome to the news. This is the weekly show where Robert and I discuss the music news headlines that have grabbed our interest and new music releases that we want to recommend and share with you. As always, we can't cover everything, so if we missed anything, please share your thoughts in the comments.
Now, I'm going to start this week's news show off with highlighting a new reissue from The Police. Now, this is called Around the World, and it's available for the first time on several different configurations, including a Blu-ray and CD bundle, which is the one I have. Mm-hmm. Now, Around the World is an amazing documentary that chronicled the Police's first ever world tour, which took them to not one, not two, not three. Well, it took them to 6 continents during 1979 and 1980. And it really, captures the spirit of this young band, very dynamic, very groundbreaking band that the Police were during this. And there's some additional audio recordings that we haven't heard before. Just a great release with remastered audio and remastered video. But I really recommend this release, and I will be highlighting it in probably my next column coming up, a full-fledged review of it as well, TJ.
Which everybody can check out at musicworthbuying.com.
The Police, we didn't have them around very long. They were around for a few short years, and they did a reunion tour, but they didn't even do a new album. So I know, fans of the band are very anxious to have any, new releases, and especially when it's elevating the way we see and hear the Police. They were I saw the Police in 1983 on their final initial tour, and then I saw them during their reunion tour at Dodger Stadium, and they were a phenomenal band. And it's kind of sad that they didn't really keep going. I know Sting embarked on a very successful solo career where he was kind of delving into jazz, but the Police was something really special, how they kind of brought together ska and reggae with rock and kind of a punk attitude, especially with their first album. And so this is a really exciting documentary, and I think everyone who's a fan or maybe just wants to learn more about the Police will want to watch this.
Yeah, it is a shame that they walked away from all the stardom and music career so soon, but at least they went out on a high note.
Hey, oh yeah, Synchronicity was an amazing album. I mean, and I know a lot of people that I've talked to that kind of followed music in the early 80s think that, the Police kind of folding up, kind of going on a long hiatus, as we were to learn, kind of allowed U2 and some other bands to really rise up. But there's no telling how far the Police would have gone if they kept going, after Synchronicity. It is unfortunate, but this is a nice documentary because it captures them in their infancy and kind of with all the excitement and takes you along on this ride that they were on.
Well, as long as we're on the subject of documentaries, I want to talk about a new upcoming documentary that will be featuring Elton John. It's going to be entitled Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. And I'm going to read a little bit from the story here off of Rolling Stone magazine here. After getting his own biopic blockbuster film, Elton John will be feted with an official documentary. I like how Rolling Stone uses words like feted.
Yeah.
Entitled Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, the final Elton John performances and the years that made his legend. Co-directed by R.J. Cutler and filmmaker and John's husband, David Furnish, the movie will be centered around John's farewell tour while also looking back at 1970 to 1975, the monumental period when John released 10 albums and scored some of his biggest hits. The doc will also include an array of unseen footage from the past 50 years, as well as John's handwritten journals and present-day footage of the musician and his family. An exact timeline for the Goodbye Yellow Brick Road film hasn't been announced yet, but the film is expected to hit the festival circuit and get a limited theatrical release. It will then be exclusively available on Disney+. So, cool idea. They're going to basically have his current farewell tour as the framing sequence, and use it as a way of looking back on different aspects of his career. And so definitely, I'm all for more Elton John, and I'm all for more insight into his musical workings. And I definitely hope that this film will deliver. Okay, so now let's just talk about new music releases. And Robert, why don't you go first?
Well, I'm going to kick it off here by talking about one of my favorite singer-songwriters, and that would be Michael Ubaldini, who is back with his eagerly, long-awaited album Rabbit Foot Carnival. And this is truly, I've been listening to this album for about maybe 2-3 weeks, so I can say it's one of his greatest ever albums. It's a
Really?
phenomenal album that finds him using, there's a lot of melody infused in the album, but he mixes gospel and soul and rock and roll and country blues, and he mixes all this together to kind of create this really vivid sonic scape of featuring these 14 new originals that he's written. And it's just a brilliant album. There's some songs that are just kind of tender and very sparse. Some really just rollick along and are just really rowdy rock and roll. Just a really good album. And I know over the years we've talked a little bit about Michael Ubaldini. He's very acclaimed, but I wish more of the world knew about Michael. So I hope more people will check out his new album, Rabbit Foot Carnival, and maybe give him a listen and discover why he is such a special songwriter.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I've listened to a lot of his albums over the last decade or so, and he's made some really great music. We both know that fame and stardom don't always equate to great music. It's always nice when it does, but he's just kept doing what he's doing. Even though the fame and stardom maybe hasn't caught up to him yet, anyways, he keeps doing what he's doing because he believes in it.
Yeah.
And that alone, just the tenacity alone, I think makes checking out his music worth it. So definitely I would recommend that too. I need to listen to this new album because I have not heard it yet.
Yeah, definitely do, TJ. It's a masterful album. I'm telling you, there's one song, and let me make sure I have the name. It's called Lazarus Blues. I would challenge anybody to play that song once and then say you're not going to keep putting it on repeat. It is fantastic.
I'm going to take up your challenge. I'm going to check that out. In the meantime, I want to recommend the next album here. And this is by some gentlemen who've been around now for a while here. And the album is entitled Drop Out Boogie by the Black Keys. And this album is a very quick follow-up to their 2021 album of blues covers entitled Delta Cream. This album, of course, is all originals. It also features collaborations with Billy F. Gibbons of ZZ Top. And quite frankly, he seems to be everywhere these days. But you can never get too much of Billy Gibbons, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
Whenever rock and roll is being mentioned. Also, a Greg Cartwright of Raining Sound, and hopefully I say this right, Angelo Petrocelli, hopefully I've said that right, from Kings of Leon. Now, this is just a great rock album, just a really good, solid rock album. And at this point in their careers, I feel like the Black Keys are kind of entering the part of their careers where they start to become elder statesmen of rock and roll. They're not so much reinventing the wheel at this point as they are perfecting their version of the wheel, which is this, heavy, driving, blues-driven rock and roll that they do. They will always be infusing different sounds and attitudes to it, but at the core, this is just really good blues-driven rock. And this album's 10 tracks are so well crafted that I just can't help but admire it. It's a great album, just excellent production, excellent songwriting. And, the only reason I haven't picked it up yet is because I haven't been able to decide, do I want to get it on CD or do I want to get it on vinyl? And I'm going to need to make that decision soon because vinyl versions tend to disappear pretty quick. on new releases. So I have to make my decision really quick.
Right.
But that's the first album I want to recommend. But I know you've got some more albums you want to recommend, so I'm going to let you go ahead.
Well, I do. I have definitely at least one more album I want to recommend here, and that is the new album from Def Leppard. Believe it or not, they are back, and the name of the album is Diamond Star Halos. And I'm telling you, this is, although it seems like Def Leppard has been around forever, this is actually only their 12th studio album. And I'm telling you what I found fascinating is, yeah, you hear a lot of the signature Def Leppard sound from their 80s hits and that stuff, but they're also exploring some new sonic territory on here, delving into glam, a little psychedelia. There's some new things that they're doing here, and I think it's a really solid album with really good songs. And of course, you and I are both guitar players. Boy, is the guitar work on this album just stunning.
Yeah.
I mean, with a lot of the modern rock, and not to put it down at all, a lot of times there isn't the kind of the signature lead guitar work that you affiliate with, like the 80s and the 70s and stuff. Boy, I'm so happy that Def Leppard have decided not to throw that out the window. There's a lot of great guitar work here, the big choruses. And what's one of the fascinating, let me just talk about one song. They do a song it's very reflective, called This Guitar, and it features Alison Krauss as a duet with Joe Elliott. Beautiful song, and not something you would necessarily associate with Def Leppard, and yet they do it very well with authenticity and grace and everything. And you were the one that said, "Hey, Robert, have you heard the new Def Leppard album?" So it got me to listen to it. I was blown away and listened to it again. So I played it twice today, and I'm looking forward to listening to it another time or two before I write up my review for the Music Worth Buying site.
Wow, cool. All right, I'll look forward to your review. And glad you're enjoying the album. I saw that it was out, and I know you're a big Def Leppard fan, so the first thing I wanted to do is bring it to your attention. And honestly, I've only had a chance to listen to one song. I do want to listen more now after hearing what you have to say. So I'm really glad to hear it, since you're a fan, that it's really good. And Def Leppard, when you talk about guitar work, you also have to just talk about really well crafted recordings.
Oh yes,
really well crafted production, and it's done right.
Yeah.
It's
and
really
I think the band set out to do that. I think they were very inspired by Queen. As a matter of fact, Brian May was the one who inducted them when they were put into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But a couple songs I want to highlight for you, TJ, to listen to. One is called Liquid Dust, which is, again, it's not necessarily something you would associate with a classic Def Leppard song. And another one is, there's a Baroque power ballad titled Goodbye for Good This Time. Again, these are songs that surprised me. As a longtime I've seen Def Leppard a number of times in concert, have their albums, and I was pleasantly surprised that the band has moved, without abandoning what made them great and popular in the first time, but they're not content to just rest on their laurels. They want to move on into the 21st century, and I would encourage everyone who's a fan of the band, and maybe those that are not familiar, check this album out.
Cool.
Now, TJ, I know there's another album you want to talk about, but before we go from me, I want to talk a little bit about a new advanced single from Dawes. Now, Dawes is a Los Angeles-based Americana band that I've seen a number of times. I even saw them open once for Jeff Lynne's ELO, which was kind of surprising. But they have this great new single called Comes in Waves. It's off their forthcoming album, which is titled Misadventures of Doom Scroller. Now, the album isn't out until July 22nd of 2022, but you can hear the new single now, and I really like that, and I want to encourage people to go on YouTube or your favorite streaming service and check that out. And again, the name of the song is Comes in Waves, and I just wanted to give a little shout out to Dawes' new music.
Everybody check that out, okay? So now I want to talk about another album here. This one is from Pearl Jam frontman Eddie Vedder, and it's entitled Earthling. It came out a couple weeks ago, but we've been away for a couple weeks, so I want to get to it right now. This particular album is his second solo album, and most of the tracks on this album were written by Eddie Vedder, Andrew Womack, Chad Smith, and Joss Klinghoffer. Hopefully I've said that right. And I'm going to describe Earthling as more musically colorful than most Pearl Jam albums. The album's opening track, entitled Invincible, feels like it's channeling Peter Gabriel. Track 3, entitled Long Way, has him channeling Tom Petty, and even features Bent Montench on keyboards. Sorry, I probably said that very badly.
Yeah, from the Heartbreakers, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. And you even hear a little bit of that Southern sneer in Eddie Vedder's voice when he's singing this track. The closing track, entitled On My Way, damn near has him crooning, if you can believe that.
Wow.
Eddie Vedder crooning. Yeah. This album also features collaborations with Ringo Starr, playing on a track entitled Miss Mills. It also features Elton John on a track entitled Picture. Elton John contributes both vocals and his signature piano stylings. And Stevie Wonder joins him on a track playing harp entitled Try. His last album was entitled Ukulele Songs. It was from 2011, his last solo album. And I enjoyed Ukulele Songs. It was a real pleasant surprise. But this album is an even bigger surprise. I wasn't expecting it to be as fun to listen to as it was. And I really liked Pearl Jam's last album, Gigaton. But I do hope that some of just the energy of fun that I hear on this album gets passed on a little bit for the next Pearl Jam album. Really hoping we'll some of that energy will move on. Anyways, though, but yeah, that's my recommendation. Thank you for your recommendations.
Yeah, I definitely got to check out the Eddie Vedder album for sure.
Lastly, of course, before we end the show today, we want to take a moment here to just remember drummer Alan White, who passed away. Alan White was best known for his work, of course, with the band Yes. He was 72 years old, and he passed away on the 27th of this month. He joined Yes back in 1972 as a replacement for original drummer Bill Buford, and he made his debut on the band's fifth album, Close to the Edge. Writing in a statement, the band said, "It is with deep sadness that Yes announces Alan White, their much-loved drummer and friend of 50 years, has passed away, age 72, after a short illness. The news has shocked and stunned the entire Yes family." Alan had been looking forward to the forthcoming UK tour to celebrating his 50th anniversary with Yes and their iconic Close to the Edge album, where Alan's journey with Yes began in 1972. He recently celebrated the 40th anniversary of his marriage to his loving wife, Gigi. Alan passed away peacefully at home. Yes will dedicate their 50th anniversary Close to the Edge UK tour in June to White. During his career, he played on over 40 studio albums, including John Lennon, George Harrison, Ginger Baker's Air Force, Joe Cocker, and The Venture. And most recently, of course, he performed on the most recent album by Yes, entitled The Quest, which was released in 2021. White was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a member of Yes in 2017. Please share with us your thoughts on Alan White. And that's it for the news, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We'll have more headlines and more new music recommendations for you next week. As always, be sure to click like, hit subscribe, and hit the bell notification icon so you never miss a video. Everybody, thank you so much for watching, and thank you to our Patreon supporters who are helping us make more videos. If you'd like to be a Patreon supporter, please go to patreon.com/TJR The Original. Everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.